Hello and welcome. Hovercraft have been around for many years. These amphibious craft are capable of travelling over land, water, snow, ice, mud. Their engines power blowers to produce a large volume of air below the hull. This forms an air cushion where air pressure is higher than atmospheric pressure. This pressure difference produces lift, which causes the hull to float above the running surface. For stability reasons, the air is blown through holes around the outside of a platform. A flexible skirt allows the vehicle to travel over small obstructions without damage. So this is our big bird hovercraft that we'll be using today. Hovercraft are now used throughout the world as transport in disaster relief, Coast Guard, military and for sport or passenger service. Large versions have been used to transport thousands of people and vehicles across the English Channel. Others are used by the military to transport tanks, soldiers and large equipment in hostile environments and terrain. Although now a generic term for the type of craft, the name hovercraft was a trademark owned by Saunders-Roe. Hovercraft are unique in that they can lift themselves whilst still, differing from hydrofoils which require forward motion to create lift. The term hovering was first mentioned by the Swedish scientist Emanuel Swedenborg in 1716. Imagine that. The shipbuilder Sir John Thornycroft patented an early design for an air cushion ship in the 1870s, but suitable, powerful engines were not available until the 20th century. In 1915, the Austrian Dagobert Müller von Pommermühl built the world's first air cushion boat that required a depth of water to operate. Other inventors such as Tolvo Karjo of Finland, Vladimir Leskov of the Soviet Union, and American engineer Charles Fletcher advanced the concepts. The idea of the modern hovercraft is usually associated with the British mechanical engineer Sir Christopher Cockerell. His group was the first to develop the use of a ring of air to maintain the cushion, the first to develop a successful skirt, and the first to demonstrate a practical vehicle in continued use. Cockerell came across the key concept in his design when studying a ring of airflow when high pressure air was blown into the annular area between two concentric tin cans using air from a hairdryer. This produced a ring of airflow as expected, but he noticed an unexpected benefit as well. The sheet of fast moving air presented a sort of physical barrier to the air on either side of it. If ever you've walked into a shop which has an air curtain at the door, you'll know that effect. He called this the momentum curtain, and it could be used to trap high pressure air in the area inside the curtain. In theory, only a small amount of active airflow was needed. A hovercraft would only need between 1/4 to 1/2 of the power required by a helicopter to gain lift. Cockerell built and tested several models during the early 1950s. His design featured an engine mounted to blow from the front of the craft into a space below it, combining both lift and propulsion. He demonstrated the model flying over many Whitehall carpets in front of various government experts and ministers, and the design was subsequently put on the secrets list. In spite of tireless efforts to arrange funding, no branch of the military was interested. As he later joked, the Navy said it was a plane but not a boat, the Air Force said it was a boat but not a plane, and the Army said it was plane not interested. This lack of military interest meant that there was no reason to keep the concept secret, and it was declassified. In 1958, a contract was placed with Saunders-Roe for the development of what would become the SRN-1, short for Saunders-Roe Nautical 1. The SRN-1 was powered by a 450 horsepower engine, powering a vertical fan in the middle of the craft. A portion of the airflow was bled off into two channels on either side of the craft over two large vertical rudders that provided directional control. The SRN-1 made its first hover on the 11th of June 1959 and made its famed successful crossing of the English Channel on the 25th of July. In December 1959, the Duke of Edinburgh visited Saunders-Roe at East Cowes and persuaded the Chief Test Pilot Commander Peter Lamb to allow him to take over the SRN-1's controls. He flew the SRN-1 so fast that he was asked to slow down a little. On examination of the craft afterwards, it was found that she had been dished in the bow due to excessive speed. This damage was never allowed to be repaired and was from then on affectionately referred to as the Royal Dent. Although the SRN-1 was a successful testbed, the design hovered too close to the surface to be practical. The solution was offered by Cecil Latimer-Needham and Arthur Ord-Hume. They suggested the use of two rings of rubber to produce a double-walled extension of the vents in the lower fuselage. The performance was improved when a 1.2 metre high skirt was fitted to the SRN-1, allowing it to climb over obstacles almost as high as the skirt. Over time, this design evolved into individual extensions over the bottom of the slots in the skirt, known as fingers. Through these improvements, the hovercraft became an effective transport system for high-speed service on water and land, leading to widespread developments for military vehicles, search and rescue, and commercial operations. Small-scale ferry services started as early as 1962 with the launch of the Vickers-Armstrong VA-3. The hovercraft had been developed into a commercial craft with the introduction of the 254 passenger and 30 car carrying SRN-4 cross-channel ferry by Hover and Seaspeed in 1968. Another major pioneering effort of the early hovercraft era was carried out by Jean Burton's firm in France. Burton was an advocate of the multi-skirt approach. During the early 1960s, he developed the N500 Naviplane built for Seaspeed. The N500 could carry 400 passengers, 55 cars and 5 buses. Amazing. It set a speed record between Boulogne and Dover of 137 km per hour. Another discovery was that the total amount of air needed to lift the craft was a function of the roughness of the surface it travelled over. On flat surfaces like pavement, the needed air pressure was so low that hovercraft were able to compete in energy terms with conventional systems like the steel wheels of trains. However, as the hovercraft lift system acted as both a lift and very effective suspension, it naturally lent itself to high-speed use where conventional suspension systems were considered too complex. This led to a variety of hover train proposals during the 1960s, including England's tracked hovercraft and France's aerotrain. Rival operators Hover and Seaspeed operated regular car and passenger carrying services across the English Channel using the SRN-4, which was powered by 4 Bristol Proteus turboshaft engines. These carried 254 passengers and 30 cars at a top speed of 154 km per hour. The channel crossing took around 30 minutes and was run like an airline with flight numbers. The later SRN-4 Mark III had a capacity of 418 passengers and 60 cars. These were later joined by the French-built SEDAM N500 Naviplane with a capacity of 385 passengers and 45 cars. The services ceased on the 1st of October 2000 after 32 years due to competition with traditional ferries, catamarans, and the disappearance of the duty-free shopping within the EU, as well as the advancing age of the SIN4 hovercraft and the opening of the Channel Tunnel. I think the latter reason would be the major part of that. The United States Navy, during the Vietnam War, used SIN5 patrol air cushion vehicles in the Mekong Delta where their mobility and speed was unique. Experience led to the proposed Bell SK-10, which was the basis for the LCAC class air cushion landing craft now deployed by the US and Japanese Navy. Developed and tested in the mid-1970s, the lighter air cushion vehicle 30 was used by the US Army to transport military cargo in logistics over-the-shore operations from the early 1980s through to the mid-1990s. The Soviet Union was the world's largest developer of military hovercraft. Their designs range from the small CZ-LIM class ACV comparable to the SIN-6 to the monstrous Zuba class LCAC, the world's largest hovercraft. The world's largest civil hovercraft is the SRN-4 Mark III previously mentioned. The world's largest military hovercraft is the 57-metre long Russian Zuba class LCAC, which can transport 3 T-80 main battle tanks, 140 fully equipped troops, or up to 130 tonnes of cargo. Amazing. Thank you for watching.